Hey folks, it's the month of March. It's actually the first day of spring. And if you're looking at your saffron crocuses and wondering why they are dying off and what you may have done wrong, it's not you, it's them. And it's part of their normal life cycle. My name is Tara and I garden in the Bay Area, and this will be my 5th year growing saffron in my backyard garden, and I've learned a lot along the way that I've been sharing with you in multiple videos. So go and check out my videos on how to grow saffron, my 4-year journey. I'll put a link to it here as well as at the end of this video. But I've been showing you month by month what happens to saffron after it has finished blooming, and right now it's about to go into the next stage, which is dormancy. So let's talk about some of the things that you should and maybe shouldn't do as saffron goes into dormancy. Oh look, a little saffron corn that just popped out. But this is actually a good example of what's going on. You can see these long strands that used to look like hair that you can braid. Now it just looks like hair that should be trimmed off. But don't do that. That's one of the first don'ts. Is saffron at this stage is actually accumulating and feeding the corm, and if I dig into this, you'll see even more baby corms that this has divided into. So that's what it's doing. It's pushing a lot of energy into the corm, and it's also building the flower for the next season. Yes, the flower is going to be in this little corm by the time it is done with its life cycle and goes into dormancy. Now, I live in a Mediterranean climate, which is saffron's favorite climate to grow. So if you live in a climate that is not hot and dry during summer, and an extended summer at that, then you need to do certain things a little bit differently to make sure that your saffron goes through its life cycle like it would in its native environment. So my squirrels have been actively digging and trying to find their acorns amongst the saffron. They don't really eat the corms at this stage, but they will eat it when they are just emerging after dormancy. So I'm going to cover it up anyways because I don't like the mess that they've created over here. But before I do that, I wanted to show you they are actually actively dividing. Let's take this one for example. You can see that it's got a little baby here. Some of them are actually accumulating energy in the main corm to produce a flower for next year as well. The corms in this particular flower box were medium-sized corms when I put them in here, and with saffron, bigger is better. Bigger corms are the ones that contain the flowers. Now the rains are starting to wrap up. We'll get rains maybe for another 15 days or so. By April, we've had our last rains, and we don't get rains again until November. So saffron needs that dormancy period for the next 6 months. It needs to be as dry as possible. So if you live somewhere where it rains a lot during summer or rains pretty frequently, you want to take your saffron containers and put them away somewhere where they won't get frequently wet. Now, even though I do live in a Mediterranean climate, my saffron does not need any more water for the rest of the season. It is actually soaking wet, and this water all needs to dry out for it to go completely dormant. So these leaves, which will dry off completely, they actually serve as a great mulch for the saffron to protect it against the elements. So don't trim them off. Let the leaves be until they go perfectly brown, and then use it as mulch on top of the saffron. So I'm putting this away where it does not get rained on, and I'm also going to use some chicken wire just to protect it from any critters digging it up. By the way, here's a little tip. If you've planted saffron in random parts of your garden like I've done over here, you might want to mark it. Now is a good time to do that, because once this thing dries out, you're not going to be able to know that it's there anymore, and you might mess around with the spot when you didn't intend to. So I have got a label here with a garden staple. I even found a clip that has the colors of saffron flowers. Can you believe that? The exact colors. Now, in addition to growing saffron in these window boxes, I'm also growing them in ground for the first time this year. Let me show you how that's looking. So this entire bed has saffron corms in it. And as you can see, they've also started to yellow, not as much as the ones in the window boxes, which is kind of interesting, but they're definitely past the season where they are growing long leaves anymore. They are all starting to dry out. So you do not need to dig up your saffron every year and replant it. You can actually go for up to 4 years. After that, it starts to get a little bit crowded. But I'm not going to be digging up the saffron that's in ground. This is its permanent spot. And then after maybe another 3 years or so, I will dig it up and separate it out if it starts to look like it's getting a little crowded. But I can't wait to see how many blooms I get from this saffron this year. If you saw my video from last year, last September, October time frame, this thing had tons of blossoms. So it's going to be even more this year if things go right and if the squirrels don't get them. So I'm going to have to cover it with that chicken wire. But yes, saffron's a very rewarding plant to grow. And the main reason it's so expensive is because you have to harvest each flower by hand. It's a very manual process. But when you're doing it in your home garden on a small scale, it's a great joy. So if your saffron is looking sad right now, don't worry about it. It's just taking a break and it'll be back to reward you in the fall. If you've got any questions, do ask in the comments below. I'll be happy to try and answer them, or someone else in the community might know the answer. Until next time, live green and love your greens. So fun fact, do you know how many flowers it takes to make just 1 gram of saffron? It takes, what was that again? It takes 75 flowers. Scratch that.